This is the Ellis Martin Report in Money Talk Radio. I'm Ellis Martin. In this segment, I speak with Trey Wasser, President and CEO of Dryden Gold, about recent drilling at the Gold Rock target area in the Dryden district of Northwestern Ontario, including very high-grade gold intercepts, along with wide zones of lower-grade mineralization that may support an open-pit starter scenario. Dryden Gold trades in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange as DRY, and in the U.S. on the OTCQB as DRYGF. Here's my conversation with Trey Wasser. Trey, welcome back to the program. It's great to visit with you today. How you doing?
Good, Ellis. How are you?
I am fantastic, and I'm tempted to drive a pickup truck up to Ontario and load up because you've got some major hits with at least 3 drill holes that I'm aware of, 2.75 ounces, half an ounce. It just keeps going on and on. What's been going on in Ontario?
Our flagship, where we're mainly focused, we call the Gold Rock target area. This is an area that historically had most of the mining in the early 1900s. It's also an area where the previous operator to us, who is the only one who's really done any real modern exploration in the whole district, where they focus most of their efforts. When we got the property and started drilling it in 2024, there were 3 known structures there, 2 quartz vein structures, called them Big Master 1 and Big Master 2, and the Elora Gold system, which is about half a kilometer away. They run parallel. It's a shear zone, so it runs with wider widths of mineralization. And as we started drilling this last year now, seriously, and got the permits we needed to really start drilling, and we were focused on the Elora system mainly. And as we were drilling the main structure there, the known structure, we started hitting all of these hidden structures or stacked hanging wall and footwall structures that surrounded this that had no surface expression. Nobody before us even knew that they were there. We've hit some very high-grade gold in some of these structures. And again, they're near surface, but don't come to surface. As high as 300 grams over 3.9 meters and almost 2 kilos in over half a meter in that. And where we're not seeing these systems have high-grade gold, they tend to widen out, and I think the gold's more dispersed, so we'll see very wide sections, like in our recent press release, 1.61 grams over 16.4 meters. We're seeing a system here that's very wide, and with these stack structures, they're all starting to pull together, if you will, and starting to look like a possible open-pit starter mine here. Now, with the recent press release, we were able to move to the west of the Elora system, an area in the summer we couldn't drill because it's too marshy and wet and there's lakes there. And now that it's frozen, and because we have such great access up there, we drill year round. When we stepped out on the ice and we're able to go to the west side of the Elora structure, we hit 2 new zones there on the footwall side. So what we drilled in the summer were all on the hanging side. So just now, when you look at our map in the press release, it's fairly rudimentary, but it doesn't really show the true width and everything of everything. So I think to some degree, these little dotted lines aren't impressing people the way they should, maybe, but it's just very exciting. There's so much gold. It's all near surface, wide widths of lower but mineable grades, 1 to 2 grams, with this super high grade gold sprinkled in throughout it.
So what are the next steps here? I know you have a fully funded 32,000 meter program for this year. What are your priority targets going forward? When do you stop and define a resource?
We'll have to see where we get this year, but we will do in this 1 kilometer square Gold Rock target area. We'll continue to do a lot of drilling, especially this spring. The rigs are turning there now. We've got some results coming off. We need to move over to the Big Master system, and where we didn't drill at all last year. I won't say not at all, very little, and really start to define that like we are. At this point, Ellis, we're doing a lot of shallow holes, and because we're finding so many new systems or structures in here, we haven't even defined what the footprint looks like. Once we've drilled this enough to where we know where all these underground hidden structures are, then we can start to drill down on each one of them independently and start to move towards a resource. But I think we'll probably spend most of this year still defining the footprint, and with drilling mostly holes that are vertical depth of 100 meters or less, again, trying to get as many holes around so that we can find out what this whole system looks like and then start to drill down to start to define a resource. Of course, that's just part of the story here is this gold rock target area.
All right, so we've determined it's really too early to describe the footprint at the gold rock target. Since you have such an extensive drill program underway for this year, 32,000 meters, a lot of shallow holes pretty much everywhere. What else are you looking at?
This is truly a district scale property, and we've got two things that we're doing. One, if you look at a camp like Red Lake, and what you start to see in these kind of systems is we're just working at the gold rock target area in 1 square kilometer area. Last year, we mapped out an area 2 kilometers to the north, and this is staying within the Gold Rock camp in this Archean lode gold system. And we did some drilling up at Mud Lake. We made a discovery up there where the system is folding, which is very exciting. We need to get a permit to follow up on up there, but we're pretty sure that we've got another Gold Rock target lookalike area 2 kilometers to the north. And then we have another one about 2 kilometers to the south. And I think within this Gold Rock camp, we'll ultimately find at least a half a dozen of these kind of areas where the periodicity of these systems, they pop to surface in places. Underground, who knows, a lot of them will likely pull together. So Mud Lake is very exciting. Then we have 2 regional targets. Sheridan, which is very early stage, but it's completely different type of mineralization. It's an intrusive related. And we've done a couple of passes of drilling there. We're identifying big wide zones of mineralization. This would be a lower grade open pit kind of target, but intrusive related, and we've got some more mapping and work to do to really develop all the right targets. So we'll be working on that throughout the summer. But the other regional target that we're really excited about is Hinman. And Hinman is off to the east. It's in yet a third style of gold mineralization. This is in granodiorites. It's from surface sampling and soil till. It's got gold along an 8 kilometers of strike. We did channel sampling last summer and got some very high grade results. We just did the first pass drill program there with 8+ kilometers of strike here. This could get very big. Again, the granodiorite is a different type of rock, and it would be more of an open pit kind of scenario, but something that could get very big.
You're trading at about 38 cents Canadian, which I think is probably 25 US or something in that neighborhood. I don't believe that the market has recognized the full potential of Dryden Gold yet.
I think that's true. You take what you can. We do a big job, but we're doing a good job, I think, of marketing and getting the story out. We were held up this late last year because we had an overhang of 38 million warrants at 30 cents. Now, they expired in late December, or were about to expire, and our largest shareholders, Europac, Gold Fund, and Delbrook, each exercised about 7 million of those, a little over, and then a few other funds did a million here and a million there. So we got about half of them exercised, which added over 7.5 million to the treasury. Centerra also had an opportunity then to add to their position to match to keep at 9.9%, which they did. And that's what really bolstered our treasury. And then, of course, the other half of the warrants expired. So once they got out of the way, and the stock was just having a hard time getting much above that 30 cents for all of last fall when other stocks were moving. And now, unfortunately, the it looks like it's in a little bit of a corrective mode, at least for a while here. So we're fighting the market now, but our stock's held up pretty well. And I think as we started our 2026 drill program, which you brought will be at least 32,000 meters.
You've still seen an increase of about 30 or 40% over the last 3 to 6 months, Trey. So you've done very well, all things considered. And you say pullback. Last time we spoke, I think the price of gold was somewhere around $3,000 an ounce, if that, and that was just a few months ago. A pullback from $5,600 to near $5,000 an ounce is really just a small retraction. We're still in a bull market here, and your story needs more eyes and ears on it, and it's going to get it.
Yeah, I think so. We started this 32,000 meter drill program on October 1st of 2025. And we purposely do that. We're not on a calendar year with our exploration program. What that does is it allows us to be putting out press releases here in January, February, March, between VRIC and PDAC and after. And of course, we continue to drill, but we'll have, with a fully funded program, with the warrant exercise we saw, Nova and investment from Centerra, we're well funded and we'll have a lot of drill results. Most of this money that we have in the treasury now will go into drilling. A lot of it this spring will go into specifically this gold rock target area where we consistently show high grade results. So I think the market's going to get very excited. And I think when we put out the initial results on Hinman, I also think the market's going to get very excited over that.
You've got ultra grades in that area. There's certainly a lot of potential upside considering some of the companies that have been taken out during the last 5 years in that area with $10 or $20 per share prices. Trey, what's coming up during the next few months?
Look, there'll be a lot of drilling, and I think you bring up a good point there. This company is being tailored for an acquisition. We have large investments. Our two largest shareholders are Alamos Gold and Centerra Gold. We've got several other major and mid-tier companies that are doing site visits and meeting with us and watching our every move. You just don't find properties like this anymore, Ellis. This is 70,000 hectares with high-grade gold all over it. It's very strategically placed geologically, and the access is incredible. We have the Trans-Canada Highway running through the property at the north end, and Highway 502 runs along the entire property going south. Even where we're drilling at Sheridan and Hinman, we've got great logging roads. Those areas have been clear cut. You can drive a Toyota Camry right to the drill rig. You don't find this kind of access. To find this kind of property these days, you have to be up on the top of the mountains in the Yukon or Alaska or maybe in BC, but not on the Trans-Canada Highway.
The stock symbol on the OTCQB, the over-the-counter bulletin board, is DRYGF. That's DRYGF, folks. And in Canada, on the TSX Venture Exchange is DRY. Trey Wasser, thank you so much for joining me today on the program. I expect to speak with you again in just a few weeks.
Okay, thanks, Ellis.
That's Trey Wasser, President and CEO of Dryden Gold, discussing high-grade, near-surface gold discoveries on the company's Gold Rock target area in Northwestern Ontario, along with a fully funded, aggressive drill program that continues to expand the scale of the system. Dryden Gold is advancing multiple targets across a district-scale land package with excellent access and infrastructure, and the company expects a steady flow of drill results as work continues throughout the year. The stock trades in Canada on the TSX Venture Exchange as DRY, and in the U.S. on the OTCQB as DRYGF. I'm Ellis Martin. You've been listening to the Ellis Martin Report and Money Talk Radio. Find Dryden Gold at drydengold.com. Dryden Gold is a paid sponsor of the Ellis Martin Report.